Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Trump has just won the classified data case. The Florida judge has dismissed and tossed out the special counsel case against Trump. A president has the power to declassify. Most importantly, a firefighter lost his life. A firefighter's life was taken the other day when a madman tried to take Trump's life. That's the most important thing that we can talk about today, that firefighter and his family and the people who were injured. When a madman tried to take the life of our president, he moved to the right, and the projectile did not end the president's life. And I explained that in the live stream last night. And we go frame by frame. So watch that live stream. I'll have a live stream today at around 5:30 p.m. But ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. We'll go really quickly. The minute the president speaks about it to someone, he has the ability to declassify anything at any time without any process. This was mostly true, and it is true. Even PolitiFact stated this years back. Now you can look, there's Navy versus Egan, which is a huge Supreme Court precedent, huge Supreme Court case. That's the precedent here. But let's look at the Hill. Trump's classified documents case dismissed over Jack Smith appointment. What happened? Judge Eileen Cannon tossed former President Trump's case over his alleged mishandling of classified information, ruling Monday that special counsel Jack Smith was not lawfully appointed. This is exactly what Justice Clarence Thomas talked about. The ruling hands a major victory to Trump, making the first time one of his 4 criminal cases has been dismissed entirely. The Georgia case has been dismantled before our very eyes the past couple of months, with major ethical and possible criminal issues on the prosecution side, against the prosecution actually. The immunity case, the January special counsel case, I said, falls under presidential immunity, and the Supreme Court gave presidential immunity for official acts when you had media completely distorting the ruling. And hit subscribe to this channel because I've been telling you for months what was going to take place. They distorted the actual Supreme Court decision. It was a 6-3 decision and verdict that said for official acts, taking out the life of a political opponent is not an official act. You'd have to be a complete imbecile to think that the Supreme Court allowed that to take place. What Democrats and media did is they said, oh my God, we can't indict or we can't convict Trump of the 18 U.S. Code 371 statute or any statute like that says that he defrauded the country and he lied with intent to deceive. I mean, this is absurd to accuse a president of lying and deceiving the country through a speech. And if that's the case, you could have indicted and convicted Biden or President Obama or Bill Clinton or especially Bush, or I think you should say especially all of them. But for a speech, you can't convict a president because you feel that the speech was deceptive. Sorry. An official act is a speech. An official act is not taking out a political opponent, which is what Democrats said. Well, since we can't convict Trump of what we want to convict him of, therefore that means he's a monarch. This type of absurd leap of logic led to the other day, where when media and Democrats in Hollywood and everyone from De Niro to Kimmel to Colbert to MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, Washington Post, New York Times, The Atlantic, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, Esquire, New Yorker, New York Magazine, every publication, major publication out there, social media algorithms. I already talked about late night comedians. You have an entire public relations monstrosity every single day, 24/7, going after Trump, accusing him of being the 1930s and 1940s German leader, accusing him of being a menace to democracy, accusing him of everything under the sun. They told you, ladies and gentlemen, he's a Kremlin operative. False. They said that he called the 1930s and 1940s Germans fine people. False. That, of course, wasn't the context at all. He actually condemned them within the speech numerous times. They told you that he said something about Drano, or that it would be beneficial. False. They said that he gave classified data to the Russians. False. That was based on a source, and all the reporting that took place the past 8 years pertaining to Trump has been anonymously sourced according to current and former U.S. officials. And it's basically gossip and hearsay. None of it has been true, really. I mean, almost everything you've heard has been distorted in some context. They said that the call with the Georgia official, the Washington Post had to retract. I believe that was the Washington Post the Post had to retract numerous stories at one time, actually fabricating a transcript or part of a transcript. And that led to the other day, all of that public relations monstrosity, the constant apoplectic, virtual hyperventilating about Trump, that he was the end of the world and the menace to democracy and the reincarnation of an authoritarian, a tyrant, a totalitarian, a despot. And he signed prison reform legislation. You don't know anything about history if you think that somebody who signed prison reform legislation is a despot or totalitarian. You must not know anything about world history. Who brought Americans home from never-ending military conflict. He negotiated the Doha Agreement. Of course, that was completely botched by Biden. Allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. Moved the embassy to Jerusalem. I don't think those two things are representative of the 1930s and 1940s German leader. But again, you don't know much about history if you think that the Supreme Court ruling gave Trump the ability to be a monarch, or that he is a menace to democracy, or that he's like an authoritarian. You're clueless. You're ignorant of history, of world history, if you think that's the case. But media has continually tried to indoctrinate, and they've been very successful at indoctrinating enough people to where the other day took place, and a firefighter lost his life. And now a family is grieving, and others are suffering and trying to recover from injuries. And the president, had he not moved his head to the right, would not be here today. And where would we be as a country? That's the democracy that democracy would have been completely and utterly. Our republic would have been completely and utterly altered forever. Okay, you could use the word destroyed, but altered forever. We would have experienced, as a country, as a republic, as a democracy, as a world, a very, very negative and dark time, had Trump not moved his head to the right. And the world and a family now has experienced something, unspeakable, because that firefighter lost his life. And his family is mourning, and God bless his family and the people suffering today from that madman who tried to take Trump's life. But you have to ask, how did this come? They tried to, the Democrats and media and this presidency incumbent indicted Trump 4 different times. Georgia didn't work. Florida didn't work. Immunity completely dismantled the federal case regarding his speech in January. The only thing they got was the hush money case, where Hans A. von Spakovsky, former FEC chairman, Bradley Smith, former FEC chairman, and Trey Traynor, former FEC chairman, stated the Federal Election Commission, there is no law that Trump broke. And furthermore, a state cannot level an FEC crime at anyone. But a president has the power to declassify Game, set, match. This has been tossed out. Even PolitiFact years back stated the same thing. NBC News, Florida judge dismisses Trump classified document case. The Hill, Bloomberg Law News. Told you this would happen, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America. God bless you. We'll have a live stream later today. Thank you so much. Hit subscribe. Share this everywhere.